All right, ladies and gentlemen, today you are going to take this chunk of clay and turn it into a pinch pot. In order to do that, the first thing you need to do is knead the clay, which is, see, I've got my hand, we're going to make this clay into a ball. Kneading it gets rid of any of the air bubbles. That's what keeps it from exploding. So we're kind of pounding it between our hands. I've got this hand cupped so that I'm making a ball so it's not flat. Do not pound this on the table. That's not going to be helpful. So you're going to pound it until you don't see any wrinkles. See, I had to fold mine over in order to get mine into a ball, which means it's got this kind of air bubble in it. So I've got to pound that air bubble out. Air bubbles, once we put these in the kiln, will make them explode, and then you will not have a bowl for this service learning project. So you've got to follow these directions exactly. So you're going to pound until that entire outside surface is smooth, or as smooth as you can get it. So I'm pounding it between my hands to knead it. Once I've got a pretty good ball of clay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my thumbs in and pinch out. See, oops, I didn't knead mine enough because as soon as I pinched, I got this crack. So getting a crack means that you haven't kneaded it enough. So I'm going to shove that in again, and I have to knead it again. So once you've gotten that, you're going to shove both your thumbs in and start pinching out. So I am pinching not just with my thumb, I am pinching between my fingers. Now the thing about clay is it will, so how I've got mine sitting lightly on the table. You can do that, or you can work with it between your hands. Do not press down on the table, otherwise you're going to end up with a flat piece of clay because the clay is going to want to flatten out. It's not going to want to stay like a bowl. Now, clay cannot get thicker than your finger, or it will not dry out fully before I put it in the kiln, and the water will turn into air bubbles, which will make it explode. So you've got to make it the same thickness as your pinky finger. So see how I'm pinching this out, and see how that outside edge is the same thickness as my pinky finger. You want to make sure that all of it is, because right now it looks nice, but if I pinch down here, it's that thick. That means it's too thick. So I'm going to keep pinching out using my fingers. You can use the tips of your fingers too. If you start getting cracks in the outside, my clay is a little drier. Hopefully your clay is nice and wet because it just came out of the containers. You can smudge and smooth those cracks away. So see, I'm smudging those cracks to get rid of them. So, slowly pinching out until the whole thing is the right thickness, is as thick as my finger. Work your way around. If you want your bowl to be a little bit more open, you can kind of start pinching it out. Don't pull, the clay will rip. And you'd want to make sure it doesn't get too thin. If it's too thin, it will crack and break when we go to dry it. So it's got to be as thick as your finger, and not much thicker and not much thinner. And go over any of the cracks and smudge them away. Smudge them back and forth. Okay. Once you've got your bowl and you're kind of happy with its shape, it's all the right thickness, you can take a little bit of water from a water cup to help you smudge and smooth the outside edge. So you can smudge away those outside cracks. So take a little bit of water, not a lot. You add too much, your whole clay will get way too slick and slippery. So you add a little bit of water, smudge and smooth back and forth. Then, once your inside and outside are nice and smooth, if you would like, You can, and you've got enough time, you can take the tool and carve out a design. So you can kind of draw in the clay to carve a design. Don't push all the way through or you will cut the clay. Last but not least, this part is optional, but last but not least, what is not optional is you need to carefully carve your name in the bottom. First name, last initial. So I'm doing Mrs. Jesser in my bowl. Make sure it's readable, because otherwise we're not going to be able to tell whose bowl it is. So, if you make a mistake at any point, if at any point yours gets too thin and it breaks, what you're going to have to do is ball it up, knead it up, and start over. You cannot just take, if something rips, see I ripped mine, if I just put that together like that, it's just going to continue to break there. So when I go to fire it, when it comes out of the kiln, it's going to look like that. Okay, so I'm not teaching you all of the ways of putting clay back together. So instead, just ball it back up, start over. Do not just smudge and smooth that out and try to make it look good. It will break, and it will break once we put it in the kiln. Even if it looks nice now, it will not look nice when I take it out of the kiln. If you do not follow directions, I cannot fire your piece. If your piece is too thick or too thin, I cannot fire it. So, make your bowl.